They felt it before they saw it, the kind of English gust that sneaks between stones and up under brims, tugging at lace and nerve with equal mischief. In a palace built for stillness, a hat became a kite. The First Lady's hand shot up on instinct, 2 fingers catching the brim a heartbeat before the wind could claim it, and the formal line of faces cracked. The Queen's eyes shone, Camilla's laugh arrived like a chime, Melania's own composure gave way to the universal language of a shared near disaster. For one unguarded second the choreography loosened, and 3 women, otherwise welded to protocol, just laughed. It was nothing air and felt and timing, and it was everything, because in rooms where every breath is measured, accidents are the only things that feel completely true. She would later write that the moment was light-hearted inside an otherwise formal day, and that is exactly how it lives in the memory, the laugh tucked between trumpets and footfalls, the dogs asleep like punctuation at the Queen's feet, the scones with jam refusing to be serious food no matter how serious the table. State visits are supposed to be made of marble, the bits that last are made of weather and people. Hats never forget. Years pass, voices change, the stage moves west from Buckingham to Windsor, and the wind returns to audition again. Marine One lowers onto the lawn with its own weather system, Rota Wash rolls over gravel, the pageantry inhales. William and Catherine hold the threshold with that studded, featherlight authority they wear like a second skin. The First Lady steps down in black, brim wide enough to make photographers mutter blessings, and for a beat every camera lens repeats the earlier scene, wind versus hat, grace versus gravity, a woman choosing to anchor her silhouette with a hand that knows exactly where to land. The old laugh shadows the new greeting without stealing it. There's a line spoken softly, a compliment absorbed without owning the frame, a breeze that tries its luck and fails. The First Lady's style has always divided rooms and conquered headlines, hats are the shorthand for both. The bolder the brim, the louder the theory, too large for diplomacy, say some. Large enough to make the lens do what she wants, say others. Somewhere online a thread insists that the silhouette proves a double, somewhere else a thread insists the silhouette proves a point. Meanwhile, on the lawn where the day actually lives, the only fact that matters is simple: the hat stays on and the conversation moves. Long before this visit's photographs, she had learned the palace's secret genre, the unscripted moment that dignifies the scripted one. Inside the resplendent rooms, where paintings listen the way old friends do, she was led through glass and gilt toward pieces of the royal collection with American fingerprints, gifts, portraits, letters that crossed water when letters were ships. In those corridors, diplomacy becomes a guided tour of each other's best stories. The state banquet follows like thunder after heat sprays of silver, menus that speak in French even when no one else does, speeches polished until they sound like oak. Seated beside a future king, she discovered the conversational gear he likes best: the earth, the weather, the slow patience of trees. Environmentalism sounds effortless in a hall that has the confidence to outlive all of us. On another evening, back in a house that belongs to her flag, she and her husband hosted a quieter dinner for the Prince of Wales and the woman who would, in time, be Queen. Less choreography, more eye contact, fewer cameras, more sentences that begin with "I remember." It is the true engine of these visits, intimate hours that never leak and therefore matter far more than the ones that do. But the hat. It is the hat that refuses to go quietly. In 2025 she steps again into a British gale as if negotiating with a familiar opponent. The brim reads like subtext, the color reads like decision. You can hear her critics in the outline, too. Theatrical, too guarded, too much shade for a face that should meet the world's eyes without hesitation. You can hear her defenders in the same outline, strategic, immaculate, a woman insisting on controlling the square inch of space the camera cannot invade. Theories proliferate like pigeons, sunglasses get indicted, doubles get invented, as if an accessory could undo the fact of a person. The internet, deprived of wind, invents its own. Inside the frame, the day keeps doing its work. The greeting on the lawn becomes a corridor, the corridor becomes a room where objects lend their weight to words, the room becomes a carriage procession where hooves obligingly find their rhythm. The First Lady's hat becomes a metronome, you count the day by how often it reappears at the edge of another image, catching light like a sail. At St. George's Chapel, the wind gives way to stone and the language changes, a wreath, a hush, a choir stitching high notes into quiet. It matters that they come here. It always matters to meet a country in the place where its grief lives uncovered. The brim lowers, the voice is lower, and without anyone declaring it, respect becomes the style of the hour. Later, a gold coat crosses a threshold, and the room decides to be on her side. Catherine's embroidery reads as a manifesto for British craft, orders glitter like footnotes on a life of service. William's white tie does all the talking he refuses to. The First Lady's line, long, dark, and precise, plays against this without insisting on itself. She has learned the palace's other lesson. In rooms like this, the loudest thing is composure. Hats can be flamboyant, faces cannot. The toast lands with a murmur that might as well be relief. The speeches agree, as they must, to make history sound like a renewable resource. Soft power turns into silverware and the clink becomes consent. The split screen, the one on your phone, is a faithless narrator. On the left it shows the First Lady and the Queen leaning in at a joke the wind wrote. On the right it shows captions accusing, guessing, projecting, awkward, icy, staged, real. The truth lived 5 feet away, in a hand on an elbow, in a tilt that says we're late, in the elegance of obeying without looking managed. Queens have been moving rooms with their wrists since long before credit existed. The trick is to make it look like permission. Melania, who has walked both Fifth Avenue and the Mall, recognizes the trick when she sees it. Reading a room is an immigrant superpower, reading a dynasty is a fluent extension. If you ask the palace what lasts from visits like these, they will not say hats or laughs or gusts. They will say the photographs that age well. One, taken a year after the mishap, shows a small dog asleep between feet that are trying not to move, and jam that could not possibly justify the number of forks nearby. Another, taken today, shows 4 figures under a sky that can't decide between blue and rain, smiling to exactly the right degree, arranged so the eye never panics. These images are the currency the monarchy spends to buy itself time and goodwill. They are also the souvenirs the visitors carry home, proof that pageantry can still do work in a world bored of ceremony. The rumor that will not die, the double, the sunglasses, the insistence that the brim hides a plot, betrays something else entirely. The discomfort some people feel when a woman refuses uncomplicated readability. She has been, by turns, visible and private, ornament and agent, silent and discussed. Hats, in this equation, are not decoration, they're boundary. In a courtyard that wants your cheekbones to confess, shadow is a line you draw for yourself. And if a gust occasionally tests that line, well, that is what hands are for, and laughter. What she wrote about that first near-miss remains the best description of why people remember it, a light-hearted and spontaneous moment in an otherwise formal and dignified occasion. The wind is the villain only until it becomes the alibi for something human. Camilla's laughter that day was not approval, it was recognition. The Queen, long before the crown sat on her head, understood that dignity breathes better when you let the air in. In 2025, with a different sovereign and the same lawns, the lesson holds. The First Lady can be strategic and still be amused by gravity. The monarchy can be exact and still make room for a hat that disagrees. In a week heavy with ceremony and argument, those are small mercies. The wreath at the tomb mattered because it did not try to become content. The garden walk will matter tomorrow because it will turn small hands loose on leaves and mud and badges that say we notice the world. The hat matters because it reminds everyone that weather is the one thing palaces cannot schedule. That is not a weakness. It is a relief. By the time the motorcade dissolves into taillights and the castle returns to its ambient hum, the day will have produced its usual stack of images: the handshake, the carriage, the toast, the gown, the glance. Somewhere in that stack a frame will catch 3 women losing and then recovering a moment to the wind. It will be the picture people show each other when they are tired of reading opinions. It will say, even here, even now, there is room for the ordinary. It will also say, notice who helped keep the hour from tipping over. A hand, a laugh, a brim that stayed put. The wind can take its bow,